panel that we have with different speakers in a lot of different industries. In exchange for our value here today, we ask that you donate to COVID and economic relief organizations. I am kind of blown away by the lineup that we have today. So we have Barry Habib, we've got Megan Anderson, we've got Scott Groves. Scott, thank you so much for introducing me to Barry and Megan. This is going to be a really powerful conversation. I'm going to let you guys go around and introduce yourselves in just a second. But I have to say, I was watching one of Barry's YouTube videos, and a lot of times he's talking about things within the realtor, consumer, mortgage loan officer type of industry. But he had this clip that I was really drawn to about motivation. And I even wrote it down. He said, "Don't always be available, be worth waiting for." And I think that that's really interesting because at this time on the planet, we feel like we have to be all things to all people all the time and we're scrambling. But that just shifted the perspective. Like, let's get grounded, let's know our value, and let's serve, let's be leaders, which is a perfect entry into this panel and this discussion today. So Barry, I got to kick it off with you. I'm so excited for you to be here. Thank you. Tell us just a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll kind of go into a quick roundtable panel here.
Well, thanks, Amber. It's really good to be here, and it's great to be with Scott and with Megan. So I'm happy that I get to share some discussion with the three of you. So I've been grew up in the mortgage business, but have done a lot of stuff in medical industry and entertainment. So I guess you can call me a serial entrepreneur. I did some acting. Yeah. Put a couple of shows that have been pretty well known. Chris Angel's show in Vegas, Mind Freak, and Rock of Ages on Broadway, which was the 27th longest running show in Broadway history. So yeah, I've had a pretty diverse background. I've been a professional speaker for a couple of decades plus. And in addition to that, have a wonderful company that Megan's a part of. It's called MBS Highway, and we really help people in mortgage and real estate understand the opportunity in the financial markets.
Wow. And so Megan, how long have you known Barry?
I've known Barry for like 4 or 5 years now.
Awesome. And so how did you two meet, or how did this evolve within you guys? Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, so at the time I had just graduated college and I was living in Vegas. I was a personal trainer. And meanwhile, I was picking up extra jobs working conventions. And it just so happens that I started working the mastermind convention in Vegas. And that is where I met Barry Habib and everyone in this industry. It was really my first glance inside of it. And then they started me having, come on events, do some sales for them. And then I've shifted into more of the marketing realm, because whether I was doing personal training or anything like that, I loved having an online presence. And I saw the power in having an online presence and building relationships. And so I started doing more at MBS Highway within our marketing. And now I'm the VP of marketing there. And I continue to learn and be inspired from Barry every single day, to be honest.
Oh my goodness. Well, I cannot wait to dig into your brain in a bit. I think you and I have a lot we could be talking about. Scott, why don't we give you the mic here for a minute and let us know what's going on in your world?
Yeah, Scott Groves, Movement Mortgage. I do home loans for a living here out of Southern California. I've been doing that for 20 years. Also run a coaching program on the side, which takes up my early 5 a.m. morning time and some Sunday afternoons. So on top of that, trying to fit in being a good dad and a good father at the same time. But, I just love connecting people. And so Amber, when I heard about your Elevate series, basically how you're just bringing some value to your audience, whether it's realtors, lenders, whatnot, really how are business owners adjusting and thriving in an environment where this, Brady Bunch style meeting is our new normal. And so I knew that you and Barry and Megan had to meet each other because, Barry's been doing things digitally with a daily video for years, probably almost a decade. And I just think a meeting of the minds on how we can help, loan officers, consumers, realtors, any business owner out there really just, elevate their game in this market condition. I thought it was important for all of us to have a quick conversation.
I'm so grateful. And Scott is one of my favorite people on the planet. And so we have a lot of mutual friends in common. We've been in person. I thought we were going to vacation in Puerto Rico this summer. That's what I thought was going to happen. So he's such a blast. He's full of bright energy, incredible information, and he is well connected and he just wants to serve. So I know we all have that in common here. For those
by the
of
way,
you,
I'm going to second that with
please.
Scott. Scott's a dear friend, and I think the world of him.
Isn't that nice? And to Megan's point, it really does come back to relationships. That is so key. And I really want to dig into that today as well. For those of you that are coming in that don't know who I am, Amber Vilhauer, I told you about my company name. I've been online since 2007. We started out as building websites. We now have launched almost 1,000 websites for authors, speakers, and coaches. My personal belief is that your website should be experiential. So how can I experience the essence of who you are when I first land on your website before I even read any of your content where you tell me who you are? So that's one of the ways that you can really start to develop a personal connection with the people coming in so you can scale your influence. And then I'm kind of an internet marketing junkie. I love testing it all. I love doing it all. I love figuring out how to make, again, those personal relationships with each contact coming in, because we all have value. And I love just getting to know who somebody is and the value that they want to spread in the rest of the world. And so then it's no surprise that I dabbled in book launches, and I have to give a shout out today to Mr. Mike Michalowicz. It'll make sense in a minute. He has this book called Fix This Next that is literally launching today. 14 months of working together to get this baby out into the world, and he is making waves in the entrepreneurial world. So grateful for Mike and the work that he's doing. And so that's what I do. Also live streaming. And so here we are. I get to meet with incredible people. When COVID hit, I got to tell you, I just felt this ferocious energy to serve. And I know a lot of really interesting people. So that's how the Elevate series was born. And I want to ask each of you about, kind of let's tap into what's happening in your individual worlds right now. So you could be thinking about the conversations that you have with clients, with your team, with your spouses, or with family, getting a sense of what is happening right now. Out of that, what's a bit of wisdom that you wish you could share with all of those people to kind of just help them move forward through this? I know that that's a little bit general, and that's where I want to start, because interesting things always come out of general questions.
Well, I'll start. And I just want to say, especially in the mortgage and real estate space, people have had to do a lot more social distancing. Right. I actually have been out looking at homes. I've been house hunting, and you can't go into condos. You can go into single family homes and townhomes. But I would say, kind of as a word of wisdom during this time where it can be really challenging to connect with each other face to face, is to have those relationships online. Be looking at your referral partners' pages, be looking at your clients' social pages. And people are isolated right now, and they're going a little bit stir crazy, as I think we all can relate. And a simple thing of responding to their story when they post their cat, oh, cute. I love that. I have a cat too. That can really be a door to starting to build that relationship and stay top of mind and help people feel connected during this time of going crazy.
I love that. Love that. What about you, Barry? What's going on in your mind right now?
Well, I think that anytime you have a situation where there's uncertainty and chaos, it's a really great opportunity to look around to see where you can do the most good, where things might be going in the future. And it's easier than you think. You just have to spend time thinking about it. Everyone has leadership qualities within them, and most people tend to kind of withdraw a little bit in times of uncertainty. But helping others, helping them through that, whether it's like what Megan said, where it's encouragement, or people that are watching this right now are in a position where they're trying to absorb information. So it's great to absorb it. It's wonderful, but it's even better to teach it. And I know that sometimes it feels awkward, but indeed the best way to learn is by teaching. So start gently by talking to others about some of the information you learn. Take notes on things, kind of go through it in your mind, make sure you get the concept down, and talk to others about it. And then really need to do it on social media. Really need to be someone who gains that leadership status by going on social media. It's free. It's beautiful. All you have to do is, turn your camera towards you on the phone, or go on your computer and do a live on Zoom or Facebook Live or whatever, and post things that you can do to help others, to give them the information that they're starving for. I can tell you that it's my opinion that right now is about as good a time as there's ever been in history to gain an audience, because social media marketing right now, you've never had a captive audience that you have right now. You literally have they're captive. Okay. It's the literal word of captive audience. So they're kind of tired of watching some of the shows on Netflix. There's only so much Tiger King you could deal with. And when people are searching for answers, your leadership not only will help them today and give you that audience today, but it'll transcend. If you continue to do this in a somewhat consistent way, then throughout the crisis, you'll help them. But beyond the crisis is where you can really be someone that they continue to look at as a leader. And that will help you with every business you're in to be able to make that connection with people. You're not coming at people in a way that is trying to sell them. You're advising, and they look at you as such. So these are important times for us to look for opportunities, look where the questions that are out there that people are having can be, there could be some clarity for them. I'm not saying answers, but at least clarity. And if you can do that and establish that and give them ideas, Megan said she was going to some open houses and she talked about some of the concerns that are out there. Well, okay, so if there's concerns out there, then try to figure out ways that you could provide some safety tools for people to feel more comfortable about letting others in, or going to visit someone else's home, maybe taking the virtual experience with some of the things that you're able to do to make that kind of circumvent some of the time spent in the home so they're more in and out quickly. Help them have a roadmap as to, these are the things you need to check out. Do as much as you can virtually, but here's a list of 8 things you should be looking at inside a home. Now, if I were a real estate agent, I've done this like 800 times. I should know that. So just make that list so people get in and out of the home quickly, and that will help the seller, that will help the buyer. But this is the way your mind should be thinking right now. Where are the problems? Where are the points of friction? And how can I alleviate points of friction and use social media to get the word out?
Yeah, I want to say another thing too, really quickly, is real estate agents that are listening, it means a lot. So I went to go look at a house and I forgot my face mask. Well, my real estate agent had an extra one. And not only that, she was carrying around hand sanitizer. That just makes you feel better inside to have someone else prepared, even though you might not be thinking about it. And it made me feel more safe. So I would recommend carrying around extra supplies like that.
That's awesome. And Barry, I really appreciate a few things that you said. I have a quick follow-up question for you, but I'm already seeing the direction of this conversation and I'm very excited about it. So I have to approach the viewers here for a moment and just say, first of all, thank you for being here. I see a lot of people are tuning in live right now. I am going to ask that you do us a favor and share this live stream. You can do that by, on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little button that says Start Watch Party. If you're on desktop, if you're on a mobile, you can just click share. Share this and let people know that this conversation is happening right now. A lot of wisdom just dropped, way more ahead. Tag a couple friends below and even ask us any questions. If you have questions that you want us answering toward the end of the discussion, then please do so. But we are definitely wanting to help more people and we're going to need your help in order to do that. Barry, my follow-up question for you is you made a comment about if you are feeling withdrawn right now. And I have 30 calls this week alone. I know what kind of the state of where people are, at least in my circles. And some people are feeling a little bit withdrawn right now. And it's really hard to get the motivation to then be a leader, right? Especially if we're not feeling good on the inside. And something else that I saw on the video that I mentioned earlier is you said, what motivates you? Like that was something I was thinking about for you, Barry. What motivates you specifically? And then what advice can we give to people that are feeling more withdrawn to get them moving in action?
Well, Amber's a great question. And what I think we all have to think about is when we are feeling a little withdrawn is there's a voice inside of us that says, oh no, nobody wants to hear that. And we talk ourselves out of things quite often. So we have to resist that urge. And what happens is when we are in a position of losing that motivation, what I want us to remember is that one of the things that we are craving right now is we're craving human contact. We're craving company. You know, this is something that is unusual for us. We're in a position that it feels so different than what we've been accustomed to. And I think that what we need to do is pull the best out of ourselves and remember that what's going to really make us feel good and give us fulfillment is helping others. Because that's what's really important. When we talk about motivation, you can set goals that are achievement goals. And I think they're really important. They're critical. You have to do that. But achieving goals will give you one type of success. But if you don't have fulfillment in addition to that, that success can feel somewhat empty. You get fulfillment from helping others and from doing good. That's where you get fulfillment from. So if we're at home and you're feeling a little bit down or a little bit blue or whatever the term you'd like to use, there's nothing like lifting somebody else up that will help you. And maybe that starts with just calling someone. And maybe you're not ready to go on social media and put something out there. Well, maybe there's something that you could share with someone that you know, that you call, that you talk to, that you have a conversation with. And then you say, well, you know, that felt good and that really helped that person as well. Maybe I now take that over on social media. And I'm not saying go on there and do a 2-hour post, okay? I'm saying have one thought. Maybe you write it down, maybe you talk about it and keep it to a minute, just a minute. Just one little thought that you could do to share something nice, to share something good that could lift the spirit of somebody else. And maybe it's sharing the way you're feeling about this and something that made you feel good. Maybe it's making that call and sharing that thought with someone else. Hey, you want to feel better? Lift up a friend. That's what I just did. I think that you should do that. That's just one quick idea, but there are so many. So what you want to do is, you know, what's so funny is that we very rarely spend time thinking. We don't dedicate time of thinking. You know, we kind of are more reactive. Mm-hmm. And if we're strategic, we tend to be strategic on a specific project, but we don't take a lot of time to just think about how can I alleviate points of friction? What can I do to improve others? You know, just take that time, think about that, and then most importantly, act upon it.
You're amazing. You all are. Scott, what is going on in your world? You got to tell me.
The first thing is once Barry made the Tiger King reference, I knew that was going to come up. So
Joe Exotic himself.
The first thing you can do to feel better about yourself is realize you're not batshit crazy Joe Exotic who's now spending the rest of his life in prison. So that is a silver lining. And, you know, I think everything that Barry and Megan, yourself, Amber, are talking about is I heard a physician who was being interviewed and to my relief, he was not talking about COVID-19 and the curve and the death rate and all the stuff that has all of us panicked. He said, you know, I wish the government would have done something early and relabeled it physical distancing instead of social distancing. Because the actual medical terminology that we're trying to do, we are trying to physically distance people. Yes. That doesn't mean the government's intention or the medical community's intention was ever to shut down all social interaction. You know, I've talked to Barry via Zoom more often in the last 60 days than I probably was able to talk to him in the previous 3 years. So I think this idea of social distancing, it's kind of a misnomer. And yeah, stay 6 feet away, stay healthy, you know your place, wear your mask, whatever caution you need to take that you feel is appropriate when you go to Costco, but don't let the misnomer of social distancing stop you from reaching out and having the Zoom happy hour or going on social media or talking to people. You know, I've got an interview tomorrow with an author that I thought there was a 0% chance I would ever be able to get him on a video. And, you know, we just struck up a conversation because everybody's stuck at home and he was looking for some social interaction. So we talked for about an hour and I was like, you know, I really wish that hour-long conversation would have been recorded. He's like, well, let's just go live next week and have the conversation again. And so people are hungry for that interaction. And I think if we don't give up on that interaction, like really, really good things happen. And it allows us to make introductions, you know, like we're doing right now, and reach bigger audiences and help bigger audiences of people. So
Scott's like such a great example of what we were just talking about. So Scott, even though he had doubt in his mind, he didn't talk himself out of it. See, and he went for it. And, you know, don't assume that someone else isn't interested. And so he went for it and he took action. So he didn't talk himself out of it. And then not only did he not take himself out of it, he moved forward and he took action. And what a great result. And this is how things in life happen. If you want good things in life to happen to you, you have to put yourself in a position for them to do so. If you just wait around and say, well, I hope something good happens to me, I'm stuck, you know, I'm in this corner here that nobody's going to see. Maybe it will, and I hope it does, but you will increase your odds and your chances of something really good happening to you exponentially if you put yourself in that position. That also means making yourself a little bit vulnerable. It also means being a little bit uncomfortable. And yes, it even means taking some risks. But without being out in a position for good things to happen, you're missing out on so many wonderful things that you could do for others, that you can do for yourself, and experiences that you can have. So even though we're kind of locked down, most of us, doesn't mean you can't reach out and make a difference.
That really reminds me of your book, Barry, all about finding opportunity.
Well, thanks, Megan.
Yeah. And honestly, I completely agree with that. And something I've been sharing with people is that I want you to lean into those feelings of discomfort, right? So maybe you're feeling down one day. I mean, honestly, we are all grieving to some level right now, right? We all had plans and dreams for this year. We're supposed to go to Puerto Rico with Scott Groves as just one example.
Just to clarify, you were supposed to go to Puerto Rico with your husband and my wife, just so people don't think you and I are running off to Puerto Rico
yeah,
together.
That's a good point. It was a family trip. Thank you. Thanks for clearing that up. That's a good one. But we all are grieving what we thought the year was going to look like, what we thought our businesses were going to look like, what we thought fill in the blank. And you do need to spend thinking time to process that. Or you might be feeling just filled with fear right now. And you don't just try to cover that up, and you don't just try to put it in a box and ignore it, right? And distract yourself or numb out or drink more or whatever it is that you do to try to distract. My 2 cents is lean into whatever those feelings are, because the only way through it is through it. So if I'm feeling afraid financially, or if I'm in the middle of a conflict, or if I'm feeling whatever it is, we're human, we're going to feel all of the feelings all the time. Lean into it, get through it. The sooner that you show up in service, the faster you're going to start to heal and feel better about yourself. And then the opportunity then presents itself. I got to tell you guys, in the past few weeks, things have happened, especially in my business, that I never would have even thought of had I not been in this unique situation. So trust that good things are there for you, but you do need thinking time, back to Barry's point, so that you can really look at where those opportunities are.
Yeah, there are so many opportunities that are in front of us, and what we have to look, you know, it's kind of like the analogy of when you're driving down a dark road and it's at night and you have your headlights on, you can only see what the headlights are shining on, but you trust that there's more road ahead. And so you have to kind of force yourself to see beyond what just the headlights are shining on, because right now the headlights are shining on some stuff that's challenging. But if you look past it and you say, okay, where will we be? So even when we get unlocked and we're free to kind of go about trying to come to a sense of normalcy, there is going to be some major challenges. Businesses are not going to rebound so quickly. We're still going to feel uncomfortable. We still have to kind of dress with protective gear, like Megan was saying. So those precautions are going to make business difficult. It's going to make normal life more challenging, but eventually, and there's good reason to think that we can probably be there within a year. And I know a year kind of sounds like a long time, until you look back and you see how quickly years passed and you say, wow, years really do go quickly. When we think about maybe in the first quarter of next year, a good amount of our population hopefully receives a vaccine, we start to feel good. What does the world look like then? And if you can think about that, and you can think about, you know, how we're going to be behaving at that point in time. You have a lot of real estate agents you mentioned that are with us today. or individuals that are watching that are thinking about, should I buy a home? And it's natural to think, maybe I shouldn't venture out now, but if you can do so safely, and to the extent that you're in a position to do it, where you can qualify, I think that this could be a great opportunity, because a year from now, there's going to be so much pent up demand. We will be in a very strong economy again. Now, maybe the unemployment rate isn't at 3.5%, maybe it's at 7%, but the economy will be moving along in a very powerful way. The demographics are still the demographics. You're just going to have more demand for homes than there is supply for homes. So people who are kind of in that, hey, I'm a little overwhelmed by fear, I'm a little overwhelmed by all the negativity that I'm hearing, that could kind of push that aside, think about what is the world going to look like, and people are still going to need to buy homes. Businesses are going to still do well in the future. Yes, it's going to be a little lumpy. Things are going to be a little different, but how can I take advantage of that today, so that in the future I'll look back on it and not just say, well, I survived it, but I actually made decisions at that point in time that I'm very, very well rewarded for in the future.
And this is a perfect segue to go into, I know we kind of want to drill down into consumers and realtors and loan officers. What are some things that we can tell those groups individually? Like, what do they need to really know right now? Scott, why don't you, Megan, go ahead.
Yeah, Megan, go for it. I got some ideas.
From the consumer standpoint and real estate agents, for anyone that is afraid of purchasing right now, let them know the facts that this is a really good time to be looking for a home, because before this, we had a strong economy and it wasn't, out of character to get multiple offers on a home. So if they're looking to purchase, they're going to have a little bit more room for negotiation right now. They're not going to have to outcompete all these offers. And again, just what Barry was saying, demand is going to continue to be strong. So when they can get in and have a little bit more room to negotiate right now, it's a great time for them to move forward as long as they feel safe. And again, we can put precautions in place so that they do feel safe.
You also, you talked about the strength of the marketplace. Well, a couple of months ago, as Megan was saying, the market was exceptionally strong. And we just got numbers this morning showing that rates of appreciation were actually increasing, throttling up very significantly. And then we got hit with this kind of pause. Well, making a purchase during this pause, when we come out of it, every metrics, affordability was improving. You have the demographics. When you take a look at the age of a first-time home buyer today, they were born in the mid to late 80s. And you go back and you look at those birth rates, and they look like a staircase, which means more and more and more and more people were born into the early 90s. So that means, believe it or not, more and more and more people every single year will be needing to purchase a home, either buy or rent. Either one puts upward pressure on home prices. So demographics, if you take a look at the price of homes towards renting, right now, if you take an annualized level of rent, it's 17 times would be the average purchase price. But when we got into trouble in the marketplace, it was like 24 times. So every metric that you look at for real estate will tell you it's a really good place to be right now. Whether you think the stock market might be overvalued or not, that's a different story. But real estate is a really good place to be to get significant wealth creation for your family. One other thing that people should be looking at is, I know a big thing to do today is refinancing. And refinancing does make sense. It'll save you money. It'll save you interest rate, but that can amount to a couple of $100s a month. And while that's great, listen, a couple $100 a month, it's not going to really be life-changing. I mean, what it really comes out to is, something in the neighborhood of, $5 or $6 a day or something like that. It's not that meaningful. When you take a look at, if you were, and that's per workday, if you were to take a look at, instead, pull some of the cash out that people have in their home. So right now, if you're sitting with a house, you're one of the 90 million households that own your home. The average amount of equity that people have in their home is about $177,000. 40% of homes are free and clear. Homes with mortgages have about 50% of the value of that home is equity, 50% is loan. That's because of great appreciation, people paying down their mortgages. So if you tapped in, pulled out some of that money, paid off your debt, you can literally save a couple of $1,000s a month. That would be life-changing. And then if you don't need that money, maybe you need it now because you're a little unsure, but as things settle down, if you don't necessarily need that money, what you could do is advance the payments on your mortgage so that you could save 12, 13, 15 years of payments. Imagine saving your monthly mortgage payment 150 times. That would feel pretty good. That's a great retirement plan for you, but the equity you build is dramatic. So you could be really smart about this. Don't change the payment you have now, but change your life later on. This is the things that you want to do when you take a look at very wise financial maneuvers that you can do in this market right now.
Wow, guys, if you have any questions for Barry, Megan, Scott, please drop them in the comments below. Share this with your friends. This is amazing, amazing. I've taken like a whole page of notes already. Scott, what's on your mind to share right now? So,
well, I got to tell you, I want to piggyback on what Barry said. And by the way, if you're a loan officer, financial professional, and you're not subscribing to MBS Highway, shame on you. It's the best money that you'll spend every year. And on top of the market updates and the interest rate kind of plays for loan officers, Barry does have some great tools that have really helped me. Like, I'm a visual person. I like seeing, spreadsheets and graphics. And that's kind of how my mind works linearly across like an infograph. And Barry's got some great tools in there to show like, yes, this is how you can actually build wealth through your mortgage, not treating it like an ATM, not taking cash out just for the sake of buying crap. But if you really do have debt or other investment opportunities, here's how you do it. Here's how you reinvest that money. Here's how you pay down your mortgage and actually grow your net worth. So I really appreciate that tool, Barry.
And we'll put the link in comments below just so that we're all clear. My team is in there chatting away and dropping links. So anyway.
Right. And then, your original question of like, hey, what can businesses be doing? Realtors, loan officers, consumers, if you are a business owner or fully commissioned and you basically eat what you kill. I was doing an interview the other day with my friend, Chris Lockhead, who wrote this book, Play Bigger. And it's about, they analyze all these companies that have massive growth and success. And he said the two characteristics that were present in the Apples of the world, the Amazons of the world, is that they were radically generous and they were thoughtfully aggressive. And, he broke out over the course of a half hour what those two things mean: radically generous and thoughtfully aggressive. But I think right now is the time to be thoughtfully aggressive in your business, right? I don't want to call a realtor a consumer at a time when I don't know what's going on in their personal life. Maybe they have somebody who just lost their life to COVID-19. I don't want to call with a sales pitch in these times of challenge, but I think being thoughtfully aggressive, putting my name out there, letting them know that I'm available as a resource. I want to see every homeowner in America having a conversation with a realtor and with a loan officer to just talk through, where's the market at? Where's my debt level? Where's the interest rate on my mortgage? Like, these are the kind of conversations that I want to have without feeling, that I'm just putting out tacky one-way marketing. So, I think it's the time for business owners and fully commissioned individuals to accept, hey, we're dealing with a lot of tragedy. The pandemic sucks. It's creating a lot of horrible strain for a lot of people, either at the are we going to survive level or is my job going to survive? But at the same time, we also need a business and an economy to come back to. So if we can be thoughtfully aggressive in our marketing and let people know that, we're here for you and there's also some business to be done, I really think that's the best advice we can give business owners right now.
Scott, that's so awesome. I completely agree with you. And, to take that and just kind of run with that a little bit too, Megan. I know that you've got so many good ideas for social media, like whether it's Social Studio or whether it's the engagement and what to do. Maybe there's some tricks that you put out there that I think are very valuable.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
One tool that has been helping a lot of people, because listen, one of my favorite things, I've been called the video queen. I absolutely love video. And the first thing that I noticed when I started trying to get loan originators specifically to do video is they said, I hate the way I look. I hate the way I sound. How do I know what I'm going to say? And here's my first words of advice is none of us start off being comfortable in ourselves or our bodies. None of us. And we all worry about judgment to some degree. Mm-hmm. I've definitely learned this through my podcast, Behind the Breakthrough. I interview people on telling the hardships and stories that they had to go through to overcome, to step into success. And everyone goes through this. Everyone has these insecurities. So the first part of wanting to get comfortable and promote yourself and your business on social media is just get out there and provide valuable insight. And we have a tool in MBS Highway called Social Studio where we have scripts that are really important. You know, forbearance is not forgiveness, talking about how when the Fed cuts rates, it doesn't necessarily mean your mortgage rate. So we try and alleviate all these points of friction so that instead of you having to have 15-minute phone conversations with all your clients and your referral partners, now you can just post a video, tag them all in it, send it off to them when they ask you these questions, and that's going to help make your life easier. And then you'll also be able to use that, you know, in saving you time down the road. And that's the first thing, is just whatever it is. If you see a piece of content that is someone else's and you really love the message, great. Say it in your own words and repeat it, because you know that you feel good about it. And once you get comfortable being on video and knowing that you're believing in the message that you're putting out there, or you know that it is alleviating a point of friction that you currently have, then you'll start to get more comfortable and you'll start to step into your own voice. And that's when showing up online will feel more authentic. It'll be able to flow a little bit more, and you'll just be able to get out there and do it all the time. But it starts first with being comfortable. But again, a major theme that has been following everything that we've been saying on this episode here is take that fear, take that pain, whatever it is, find the root of it, state it so that it's aware and it's present, and then step into it in whatever way that that looks like. Even if it's a small step, doesn't matter. Just step into it and keep stepping into it. And then you'll notice that you're going to overcome it.
Hey, Megan, could you share some of the ways to create more engagement for those looking to do social media?
Yeah, so first off, one way to create more engagement is really by just engaging with people. And one way that I do this is I make sure that I am commenting on people's posts, commenting on their stories. Make sure that you're engaging with them, because if you're not, why are they going to engage with your content? Mm-hmm. And another thing that always is helpful is the use of engagement posts. And you can really use this to kind of gauge what your audience wants. So it could be a simple post like, what's a question you had when you went to go purchase your first home? Or how do you like your coffee in the morning? What's your favorite breakfast food? Something so simple, but I like to use those as a way of trying to figure out what kind of content it is that my audience wants. So for me, I might ask a question, you know, why aren't you posting on social media more? Why aren't you leveraging social media for your business? And that's where you get all the comments of, I hate the way I look, I hate the way I sound. And then you know what content to come out to help your audience. And there's no reason for you not to believe in it anymore or not put it out there, because you know that it's helping overcome a concern, a problem, or a fear that your audience is experiencing.
That's really, gosh, she's speaking my language, right? So this is, I'm appreciating it so much, because this is a lot of the things that I tell my clients as well. Especially when you're in a position of feeling like you should do video, you should go live, you should do social media. Absolutely. Now is the time to get market share. I'm telling you, just like Barry was talking about how now is definitely the time you should be investing in real estate right now. I'm saying now is the time to get your message out and capture as much of that online real estate as you can. And some of the things that I tell my client is, number one, get out of your own head. This isn't about you, right? When I realized that even being live right now, this has nothing to do with me, right? It's about you. It's the person that's watching this right now. We're all here for you. And when I really get that, and then a lot of the fear or the worry, it just disappears. Being in service is kind of also the through line of this conversation. I also try to get clients to think like, if you were in line at Starbucks back then, and somebody was striking up a conversation with you, would you freak out then? No, you would just be your natural, normal self. And that's all that anybody wants you to be online too. In fact, if you are perfectly polished and scripted, you're actually creating a barrier. It's like an invisible barrier, and people just won't feel like they get you. So the more personal that you can make interaction, and I can say this is absolutely something that consumers need to know, realtors need to know, loan officers need to know. The more that you can make it personal right now, the better. And then the last thing I'll say that came up for me in all of that was, I remember, got to give a nod to Michael and Amy Port today of Heroic Public Speaking. And something that they say a lot within their community is, we can do more together than we can alone. So right now is not the time where you feel like you have to be alone on your island doing your thing. Instead, look up and think, who do I know that I could do a collaboration with? And how can we join forces together and serve each other or serve our community in a much bigger way? Now's the time to get scrappy, be thoughtfully aggressive, Scott, right? So love that.
I got to give a shout out to Megan to a talk that she gave about a year and a half ago that I saw, and I love to text Megan on the side and say, if I see another loan officer ask, what was your first car, I'm going to kill myself, because that's one of the engagement questions that now every loan officer has stolen. But Megan said two things. She said, hey, especially to you ladies, spoiler alert, everybody already knows what you look like and sound like, right? If you're friends with them on Facebook, or if you've ever called them, everybody already knows what you look like and what you sound like, right? So just get over yourself. And then number two, and I've heard this from both Megan and Amber, is that if you're going live and you're just talking to an audience of, what could be potentially thousands or tens of thousands on Facebook, it's a little bit overwhelming. Megan and Amber have both recommended talk to your audience as if you're talking to one person. So if I post a video on social media where I'm planning to inform realtors, I think of one of my favorite realtors, Kenya Reeves Costa, and what's the conversation I would have with Kenya? How would I update her? What conversation we have? What questions would she have? What questions would her buyer's agents have? And it just comes out so naturally when you realize you're talking to one person. Same thing. If I'm talking to a consumer about refinances, I think of my friend Robert DeRosa. He's a firefighter. He and his wife and his kids, they're on a fixed income. Like, refinancing and saving a couple $100 a month really matters to them if we were to execute a refinance. So when I'm talking to somebody, and again, this came from Megan and Amber, picture your perfect client or your perfect referral source and just talk to them. And then the words just flow so easily, and you'll be like, oh my God, I just did a 15-minute live stream. I meant to talk for 30 seconds. And it gets so much easier. So I know we're running pretty short on time. I'd love to get Barry's thoughts, just kind of, maybe what the next 6 months of the market looks like in your opinion. I won't ask you to say are rates going higher or lower, although maybe you have an opinion there, but what should realtors and lenders and consumers and potential homeowners be thinking about if they're looking into the future, for the next 6 months, if you could pull out your crystal ball?
So the economy is going to be very choppy as we come into an unlockdown period. We're still going to feel uncomfortable about doing things like, crowded bars, restaurants. There's recently some pretty significant indications from some polls that were done that showed that a vast majority of people are still going to feel uncomfortable doing these things. Now, when does it all change? When we get a vaccine, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a period of time between now and then when things are going to be bumpy. So interest rates are not going to have upside pressure to them. Now, they can vacillate a little bit here, but they're not going to move up significantly. So there's going to be some really good opportunity for low interest rates for a long time. That bodes well for real estate. It bodes well for refinancing, for debt consolidation, like we talked about. Now, as we move past this period to the unlockdown period, if we look into the future, well, rates are going to stay very low for a really long time and probably be even lower than they are now, because you take out some of the premiums. When people start going to work, you take out the premium of, will people pay their mortgage? So that makes rates a little bit even more attractive. Now, what will keep rates low? We know that our country, in order to make a heroic humanitarian effort, is doing everything it can to help families and put out a lot of debt that we're getting ourselves into. Now, of course, that's not a great thing for the future, and that we have debt because it creates a drag on our economy. Just like a family who's taken out so much debt, when you take out debt, what you're doing is you're taking a future purchase and you're making it happen today. So you're borrowing and you're taking from the future and you're making it today. And what the nasty part of a lot of debt is those monthly payments, which now eat into what you have as your income. So you don't have a lot more disposable income to generate economic activity. It's the same for a country. So a lot of this debt will be a drag on growth. The flip side of that is everywhere in the world, throughout every period of time in history, the higher the country's debt, the lower the interest rates are. And you're going to see a very low interest rate environment for a really long time. So that's going to make the home buying process be extremely attractive. It's going to make purchasing a home a lot better than rents. And what we're also hearing is that COVID-19, coronavirus 2019 version is really making people think twice about urban living, about living in an apartment, about being on top of each other. Because if the next pandemic were to hit, people that close are going to be more vulnerable. So people want more room. They want to be spread out a little bit more. So we see that as really good news for single families. The real estate side that probably is not going to do well is going to be the commercial real estate side, because things like this, Amber, you're doing so many of these. Megan, Scott, you're doing so many of these things. We're discovering that out of necessity, this is not a bad platform. And for me personally, who would be doing about 80 speaking engagements a year, I spend an awful lot of time on an airplane. So while we don't like where we are here, a nice side benefit is not having to fly all over the place. Now, I do like that human interaction. I like being around, but this is a kind of nice way to do it because it does make you very productive in other areas. So commercial real estate will probably suffer because people are going to say, well, maybe my employee's working at home, they're still as productive. Maybe I could save that overhead. So we see that as a very, very big trend into the future. So I think residential real estate looks great. I think commercial real estate does not look great. I think because of everything that's going on with debt, that gold will probably be a good part of your portfolio. I think the stock market will be very choppy. I know it's had a big rally, but the stock market doesn't really tell you what's really going on in the economy. And I think there will be a pullback in stocks. I think that as we get the cold slap in the face that the economy is not going to respond as wonderfully as we all want it to, you'll probably see the stock market have a tough time into the next few months until things do start to recover. So that's kind of where the market outlook is from our point of view.
Wow. Guys, I don't even know how to say thank you for this. This is amazing. Barry, I can only imagine.
Appreciate it, man.
Oh, I can only imagine the demand on your guys' time. So I just appreciate how much you're showing up for the world right now. I mean, it's amazing. So thank you for being here. And Scott, thank you. I think you're in and out of being frozen, but thank you for your giving heart and for connecting us. For all of you watching, I really appreciate everybody that showed up today for this. My team is putting links below into some COVID and economic relief organizations that you can donate to in exchange for our time and value, because we're here to support and elevate all communities. If you have questions, definitely put them in the chat below. I'll go back and say hi to everybody there. Any last pearls of wisdom or last thoughts that you guys want to share before we conclude?
I guess I'll kick it off. There's a podcast I've been listening to a lot, and the podcaster named Scott Galloway, he's been ending every podcast by saying the bad news about tragedy is it always finds us, and the good news is we always get through it. And I think that's just a great way to think about it. Is like, if it's not COVID-19, if it's not 2009, if it's not 9/11, the sad thing is tragedies happen and they're just part of life, but somehow humans are pretty resilient and we find a way to get through it. And that's been bringing me some comfort in the back of my mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I just want to say, we will get through this. And not only that, but look at all the beautiful things that have come from this pandemic. And I'm going to choose to focus on those. And it just makes the world a brighter place.
Me too.
Yeah. When I wrote the book, Money in the Streets, the reason for Money in the Streets title is because when my parents, who were immigrants, came here, they were extremely, extremely poor. And then they found out that the surprise was along the way, and that was me. But they were a lot older. My dad was 57, my mom was 40. And back then that was, quite a bit older. And boy, talk about threading the needle. I made it in just before birth control pills became available, months before that. And also right before abortion was made legal. So I kind of literally threaded the needle to get here. And when I was a young kid, my mom thought that it was kind of sad but funny that when immigrants came to the United States, people said, well, America's such a rich country. There's literally money in the streets. All you have to do is pick it up. And she would tell me this, and it would be like a laugh, but also kind of sad. And as I realized by growing up and seeing that there are opportunities everywhere, that it's true. There is money in the streets. And I said that to her before she passed. I said, you know, you were right all along. I said, there really is money in the streets. You just have to know how to see it, then pick it up and do good with it. And that will become really, really fulfilling.
I couldn't like this guy anymore. Megan, you two, you guys are like the power duo, I swear. And Scott, we've already accomplished what I feel about you. I don't mean to gush, but I honestly, it just feels like such a gift that this is how I get to spend my days, is talking with incredible people. So the honor is mine. Thank you all for being here today. We're going to sign off. We have more Elevate series discussions ahead of us, so definitely stay tuned. And we wish you guys a beautiful rest of your day and week. Make a comment below and say thank you for everybody's time.
Appreciate you very much.
Bye-bye.